G'day folks, it's your boy Agent 47 here, and today I'm going to tell you the story about how I became the UFC welterweight champion of the world without ever taking a single training camp and having a fitness level of absolutely zero. And it obviously all started with a little bit of good old-fashioned character creation, where I cut weight to 170 pounds and entered the welterweight division, stretched myself out to 5'10", gave myself the first name of Agent, the second name of 47, and the nickname of the Assassin. I set my social media handle to the real Hitman to differentiate me from all of the people out there pretending to be me, set my hometown to Moscow, Russia, made myself 18 so that there would be plenty of time for me to kill people in the octagon, and set my stance to southpaw because I am a southpaw in real life. Now I needed to choose a head for myself, and as tempted as I was to choose this one, I chose one that looked a little bit more like a head. Then I made a couple of minor adjustments, and by minor I mean an absolute ton, gave myself 2 crystal blue eyes, waxed my chest, and finally got inked up with that ridiculous barcode tattoo on the back of my head. I also have this secret tattoo from my college days, but anyone that knew about it is now dead. Lastly, I set my fighting style to that of a boxer, and then of course got myself a brand new tailor-made trademark suit. I was now ready to kill people inside of an octagon for money. I did get off to a little bit of a rocky start though. You see, I was fighting in an illegal street fight against a guy that was just way too good for me at the time. Like I said, way too good for me at the time. Anyway, as it turns out, there was a world-famous coach in the crowd who thought I had what it took to become a professional killer. I guess he had no idea what I do for a living. We started off with some light boxing work on the heavy bag and then moved into the octagon to perform a sacrificial ritual. When my coach stepped in and said that some wannabe Chad by the name of Mackenzie called me out and wanted to fight me at 6 o'clock in the Macca's car park up the road. I ran to Macca's as fast as I could, killed the dude, and then sprinted back to the gym so I could continue my training. And I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty goddamn refreshing to kill a dude in front of a whole bunch of people without needing to steal his clothes and then hide his body afterwards. Back at the gym, we practiced a couple of kicks, and then ran back to the Macca's car park to kill another dude because apparently Dana White was watching and was looking for people to join his Contender series. My target this time around looked like a skinny young Daniel Cormier, which made me feel a little bit bad being a massive DC fan, but that wasn't going to stop me from detaching his soul from his body. After my initial barrage, we lay on the floor for a while and had a little cuddle, and then feeling completely refreshed and full of love, we got straight back into it. And by straight back into it, I mean I literally sent his consciousness on a trip around the world. Boom! Bang! Pow! I now had a one-fight contract to enter Dana White's Contender series, where if I was able to murk this goober in style, I'd have a one-way ticket to the UFC. I jumped on social media to spout a whole bunch of shit about how prepared I was for the fight, and then got ready to kill a man on live TV and gain myself entry into the UFC. And this right here is pretty much how everything went down. Needless to say, I am now an official UFC athlete. One thing I didn't understand though was why they kept making me wear a t-shirt when I already had a perfectly good suit on. I signed my 4-fight contract with the UFC and was immediately called out by some guy called Bad Intentions Souser. I told him to eat a large number of penises and then took the fight with absolutely no fight camp whatsoever. Before heading to the octagon though, I signed a sponsorship deal with Freddy's Spaghetti and then made a bold prediction on social media that I would knock out this douchebag in the first round, and then headed to battle with absolutely no preparations made and a completely shithouse fitness level. As a result, as soon as the fight started, I had my recovery and cardio attributes massively reduced. That was fine though. I just need to pick and choose my shots very carefully and not waste unnecessary amounts of energy. I'm talking about shots like this, and of course shots like these. Like every single one of them. All of them. That one. All of them. It was at that moment that I proved to the world that fight camps are only for beta male pussies. Unfortunately, however, it didn't seem like the UFC was ready to give me my first ranked opponent, so they put me against Carlos Condit, a man about 10 years past his prime. I obviously took the fight with absolutely no fight camp whatsoever, and headed to a spaghetti eat-off held by my sponsor, Freddy's Spaghetti. And with a belly full of carbs and a fitness level of 0, I headed off to war. I warmed up by breakdancing in the middle of the octagon, and got straight to work. This guy was obviously a lot better than the shitbag I'd just murdered, but was he good enough? No, he wasn't. I pounced on top of him and pounded his face repeatedly until his life force meter read 0. After that absolutely dominant performance, the UFC decided to put me against a ranked opponent, and that ranked opponent was Cowboy Cerrone. Again, I accepted this fight on 1 week's notice and had absolutely no training camp. I did, however, call in my good friend Alan Jaban to teach me how to do his cartwheel kick for the very reasonable price of $75,000. I literally couldn't believe that I had just paid $75,000 for this shit. The fight started and I introduced myself in the absolute gayest way possible, and then got ready for war, where my recovery and cardio once again shit the bed immediately. Then Cowboy kicked me in the head, and I started using the shit move that I paid $75,000 for. Cowboy obviously didn't like this because he crash tackled me to the mat, and I pretended to be a wriggly worm. Cowboy went for his trademark head kick, but I caught him with an overhand, then got him in the clinch and broke his face with my knee. I dove on top of him and gave him permanent brain damage. Then I killed him anyway. The next person that I was going to brutally kill in the octagon was Rafael dos Nachos. Again, absolutely no fight camp was needed, and went on the JRE to let everyone know what a mad I am. And with my last couple of remaining training points, I hopped onto social media to hype up the fight and let everyone know that I was training really hard for it. Knowing that RDA is a black belt jiu-jitsu practitioner, I was expecting to get taken down more than a $2 hooker in Detroit, Michigan. I got rocked within the first 5 seconds of the fight and knew that this was going to be a good one. After I regained consciousness, I prepared to continue murdering him. Then I realized that he was in the Matrix. He then lay on top of me and slapped me in the face a couple of times, which was a delightfully pleasant experience. And then it was time for me to show everyone my final form. Unfortunately for him, however, his final form was obviously death. Next up, I needed to fight a guy called Gunner Nelson, who I was certain I wouldn't even need a gunner in order to kill him. Nor would I need a fight camp, because fight camps are for pussies. Just as I was pulling into the UFC car park on my BMX bike to fight, I got a message from Dana White saying that Gunner was unable to attend and asked me if I would be prepared to fight Nate Diaz instead. As I had done absolutely no preparation for the fight anyway, I said sure. I knew, however, that this was going to be a tough one, as Nate Diaz has arguably one of the best gas tanks in the entire UFC and is pretty much impossible to finish. I, however, was looking forward to changing that with a couple of knees, a couple of well-placed elbows, and a couple of very well-placed kicks to the right side of the head. Then it was just time for a good old-fashioned smash session. He dead now. Next up, I took a fight with Leon Edwards, again with absolutely no training camp, but because I literally can't stand this guy in real life, I'm just going to show the parts where I keep beating the living shit out of him. And no matter who I got put up against, every single fight seemed to end in exactly the same way. You know, at this point, I was honestly starting to think that maybe I didn't even need to travel the world killing people when I could literally do it inside of an octagon on live television for an absolute ton of money. I signed my new 6-figure per fight UFC contract, and as the #1 ranked contender in the welterweight division, got ready for my title fight. It seemed like if I wanted that strap for myself, I was going to need to take down living legend Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. And as a longtime fan, I was very much looking forward to giving him a baptism, Agent 47 style. Before doing that though, I popped into my local gym to give my training partner CTE, and then it was time for the biggest moment in my UFC career. The fight got off to a bloody start with a couple of very sharp and accurate exchanges from the both of us. I got him in the clinch, gave him a couple of knees to the face, and then ankle picked him to the floor. As soon as he got up, I gave him a cheeky high kick to the side of the head. He then gave me a very suave knee to the face that had shades of aspirin all over it, and I knew that I needed to seal the deal and I needed to do it immediately. I got into full mount and rained down blow after blow after blow until his soul was separated from his body. And it was with this absolutely dominating performance that I won the fight against Jorge Gamebred Masvidal and became the UFC welterweight champion of the world. But as it turned out, I preferred traveling to beautiful locations and killing people with stupid objects, so I went back to being a hitman. Alright, that's all.